Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. So big news, we've crossed the 500 subscriber count. We're now at 503. So everyone who, well, if you're a subscriber, thank you very much. And for all the new people, thank you so very much for getting us past that 500 hump. And in fact, like, we hit 500 and I was going to do a quick short celebrating 500, but I was in the middle of putting together the brand new couch my wife ordered. So, because when you're the Nintendo ad, you still have to do dad and husband things like put together couches. So I was like, okay, I'll do a short in a little bit. And then we hit 503. I was like, oh, well, we're past 500. So in the next video, I'll say, woo, 500. So the big 500 milestone, I might still do a short to celebrate that. I don't know. But yeah, so thank you everybody for getting us to 500. I've applied now for monetization, which isn't like the big monetization for YouTube because it will just allow me to get super chats and members and sell my own products, which I don't have any of my own products yet. So that part's null and void. But yeah, so that's like the first step. And then we get to 1,000 and then I make money off the ads for my popular videos, because that, I will say, that does annoy me when I do have a video that does really well and they start rolling ads on that and I don't get any of the ad money for the video. But that's neither here nor there. That would probably just be a couple cents anyways. But yeah, so I'm super excited we've reached 500. Now the next goal is 1,000. So we did 500 in a year. Let's see if we can get 1,000 maybe by Christmas, half a year, because it's June, so 6 months. So let's see if we can get that other 500 by then. I mean, but yes, thank you for everybody who subscribed. I really do appreciate it, because as I kind of said from day one, this is more of a hobby to me. I'm not looking to make this a career. So just every subscriber means you guys like what I'm doing. So I do appreciate it. It's very appreciative up in this joint right here. But as you can see by the title of this video, we're talking about third parties on the Nintendo Switch that their games aren't, they're not really selling. So this comes to us via videogameschronicles.com. Nintendo third-party Switch 2 game sales have started off slow, with one publisher selling below our lowest estimations, though Cyberpunk 2077 has enjoyed success on the Switch 2, however, which is the subtitle. So basically, I mean, the article goes on to read, that's just third-party, Sega, Capcom, others haven't sold as well on the Switch 2, according to a report released. 62% of Switch 2 physical game sales in the US during the console launch week came from first-party titles, and that's excluding the Mario Kart World bundle. So it's Mario Kart World if you didn't get that. And then my assumption is the Legend of Zelda special editions, because they're the only first-party titles I can think of right now that have a Switch 2 box in the US. And then in the UK, 86% of Switch 2 physical games sold in the UK are first-party games. So Mario Kart World, the Zelda Special Edition, with Cyberpunk 2077 in the US and the UK being the best third-party game. So I've already seen a few videos about this. RGT85 already did a video about it. I watched that. Pretty good video. Definitely recommend checking it out. And just everyone kind of theorizing why this is happening, kind of thing like that. So first and foremost, before I get into my thoughts on it, and I may be missing the title, I'm just talking about physical releases, like if game key card, some sort of cartridge you put in your system, not any of the third-party digital games. So this wouldn't be your Fast RMX or anything like that. But Cyberpunk 2077, now that's a full game on the cart. The rest of these, I believe, are key cards. We'll come back to that in a second. Street Fighter 6 Season 1 and 2, or Years 1 and 2. The Bravely Default Remake, Yakuza 0 Director's Cut, Sonic plus Shadows Generation, Kanutsugami, Split Fiction, Hogwarts, Puyo Puyo Tetris 2, Civilization 7, The Hitman Collection, and Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma. Now, most of these games, so I've got a couple theories. First theory is most of these games have already been out on other systems for some time now. Sonic Generations might be the newest game on this list. Possibly Civilization 7. I can't remember of those which came out, beforehand. But, Bravely Default, that's a remake. That was a DS game. Street Fighter 6, it is season 1 and 2 or year 1 and 2, but Street Fighter 6 is 2 years old. Yakuza 0 Director's Cut, that's been out on the Xbox and PlayStation for at least a year, if not longer. Like I said, Sonic Generation, fairly new, but almost a year old at this point. Kunitsugami, that's been out for about a year now. Split Fiction, that's a new release. But it's also been out for a couple months on your Xboxes and your PlayStations. But I do have an outlier, like Split Fiction doesn't go into my theory, but I have a reason why Split Fiction might not be selling well. Legacy of Hogwarts, that's been out for almost 2 years now. Puyo Puyo Tetris 2, I have no idea how long that's been out for. But, I mean, I did buy Puyo Puyo Tetris for the original Switch when that came out because I love Tetris. But that's one of those niche games. I don't think that's going to sell that well anyways. Civilization 7, that's been out for a little bit and free on Game Pass. The Hitman Collection, that's been out for a while now on other systems. The only one I don't know about is Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma. I know the Rune Factory games have been going on for a while. I think this one has been out for a little bit, but I don't know for sure, so I don't want to say, it's been out for a while and blah, blah, blah. But most of these games have been out for about a year or more now for like your PlayStation 5, your Xbox Series X. So it all kind of all depends on, and well, Sonic Generations, Shadows Generation, that's a Switch 1 game also. So this one runs better, but it is also already out on the Switch, or maybe a lot of Switch owners have that game. So it needs to be said that like a lot of people might already own these games, because you got to think early adopters, people who go out on launch day, probably own multiple consoles. Not everybody, but you got to figure you're probably someone like me. You own at least an Xbox or PlayStation. I own both. And maybe you own a PC. I've got a handheld PC. I don't have like a full gaming rig or anything like that. So you had other avenues to play these games. And where I keep teetering on whether or not I want to get Cyberpunk 2077. That way I can play it on the go. Because I've already played it. I've played it and beat it on the Xbox. I haven't done any of the DLC yet. So I've played it and beat it on the Xbox. So that's less of a deterrent to pay $70 for this game. To play kind of like through the game again and then play the DLC, where I can get the DLC for like $30 on my Xbox, something like that. And I don't have to play through the whole story again. So there's that aspect to it. So, and this is the best-selling game from the third party. So I've thought about getting that game. Same with Street Fighter 6. I had Street Fighter 6 on my Xbox. I've since gotten rid of it because I just didn't play it that much. So it's kind of like, I already had this. I can play it on my handheld. But particularly out of fear of Joy-Con drift, I don't like playing fighters in handheld mode. Like when I play Marvel vs. Capcom or Power Stone or any of the other fighting games I have for my Switch, I play it on the TV with my Pro Controller. So it's one of those things like I don't need Street Fighter on the go. Yakuza 0, I've already played. So it comes in Kunitsugami, I've streamed and played on my Xbox. So a lot of these games, like people have already, if you have multiple systems, if you already have an Xbox Series S or X, or if you have a PS5, a lot of these games, if you're interested in them, you've probably already played them. And if you have multiple systems, several of them are discounted on those systems where they're full price, on the Nintendo Switch. So I think that plays into it, because I don't think, and again, the Bravely Default remake might be a new game. I'm not really in tune with the Bravely Default series, so you can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments there. So I mean, like a lot of these games you probably have already played on your other systems, maybe even on your Switch 1. When it comes to like, yes, Hogwarts is better on the Switch 2, but if you've already played through it on the Switch 1 and you've gotten your fill, why would you buy an upgraded version of that? Same with Sonic plus Shadow Generations. If you bought it on the Switch 1 last year and you played it and you beat it, why would you buy an upgraded version to just play the same game again? I mean, if you really like the game, that's something you could do, but not something necessarily like, I'm going to go out and spend, I think it's $60 for Sonic Generations on the Switch 2. And honestly, if you really want to play, you got multiple systems, that's like $30 on the PS5 and Xbox Series X. So, I mean, there you have it right there. So it's one of those things like people have already owned these games, played these games, and things like that, and they don't want to rebuy them for the Switch 2. So that's a valid reason why third-party sales are lagging. I think a lot of Cyberpunk's sales probably come from a lot of people rebuying the game because they're so excited, like, oh, it fits on a Switch cart, and they're just enamored by the technology and everything that CD Projekt Red to get it on that cart. So I think it's more, oh, they're so excited about how they did it, as opposed to, oh, I really want to play this again. And the fact that it comes on the whole game is on a cart, I think also helps, because that brings me to my next point: key cards. I've said this in a previous video. I don't really get the people up in arms about key cards, considering I'll grab this right here. This, I have a disc. Right. Oh, that's not the right disc. That's Alan Wake. But it's still, oh, that's on me. That still proves a point, though. Even the Alan Wake disc. Yes, the game is on this disc, but it's a key card, because it's got to download the entire thing to my system. It just doesn't play from the disc like your 360, your PS3, or your GameCube, your older systems where you pop the disc in and it plays. No, it's got to download the game to the system to run. So in a sense, yes, I have a physical game in my hand right here, even though it's not WWE. It is Alan Wake 2. But it's still a key card. I cannot just pop this disc in and play right away if I haven't downloaded the prerequisites to my system. So people being up in arms about key cards, it's really Nintendo being honest with you if you want to get into the weeds about it, because they're saying, hey, the game's not on the disc, you got to download. And yes, the game's on the disc, but there's always day one patches and updates and things like that. So again, that disc is just not going to play on its own. And then there's a lot of games, Indiana Jones and The Great Circle for the PS5 definitely pops to mind, where the entire game is not on the disc anyways. Only part of the game is on the disc, and you got to download the rest of it. I want to say the Call of Duty games do that as well. Plenty of games do that. So in a sense, even when you have that physical disc for your PlayStation, your Xbox, it's still more of a key card than the actual game, because you still have to download everything to the system, which is the same as these Nintendo key cards. However, Nintendo fans, especially with the Switch, and actually Nintendo's disc-based systems too. I want to say the Wii and the Wii, well, definitely the Wii. I think the Wii U also, you didn't have to download anything. You plop the disc in and it played. Yeah, it did, because you didn't have that much memory on those systems. So I think Nintendo fans have been kind of spoiled with, we actually have physical games, that they don't like the idea of these key cards. And honestly, I think if there wasn't such a big border on the box saying key card, I don't even think too many people would care that much, because they've got the little red cartridge and things like that. So I think the whole key card thing is also affecting the sales, because I would say more so than any other console fan, Nintendo fans are really big on their physical games. Exhibit fucking A right there. I mean, you see all my Switch games, you see more than half of the N64 collection. You got a couple Super Nintendo, Famicom games there, more Japanese games over there, and you see, wrong shoulder, you see the collection behind me, Famicom, Super Famicom, N64, Japanese GameCube down there. So yeah, we're nerds. We like our physical games. But I will say, with the whole key card, I don't want to call it a debacle thing going on, I will say, because I've got it down. One thing I did like about physical games is I don't have to download the game, because your Switch doesn't have super amount of memory on it, and then buying the little memory cards, again, that costs extra money. So like my Nintendo, I think the Nintendo's got like the 516 gigs, maybe the 256 gigs. I can't remember. I think it's the 513. And I bought another 500 plus card for my system, so I have like a terabyte of memory. But still, I don't want to, necessarily use all that memory right away to download games, and then I have to move files to the card, move them to the system, delete things, like I do with my PlayStation, like I do with my Xbox, especially my Xbox with Game Pass. It's like I'm constantly downloading games, so I've got to move games to my 4 terabyte hard drive, which is external, so I can't play games from there. So if it's Series X games, I got to move it back and things like that. So that's one thing I've enjoyed about my Switch. I just, boom, pop the game in there. The only memory it takes up is the save file, which is great. So it's one of those things. I think the key cards have hurt the third-party sales as well, because I think just Nintendo fans are trained to have the game on the cart. I buy said game, boom, I can plop it in and play it. Yeah, there might be a day one update, but unlike other systems, I can ignore that shit and just play the game. Where now you can't. You got to download everything, and it takes up space on your hard drive. It takes up space on your memory card. So I think that's hurt too. I think a lot of Nintendo fans are maybe waiting for Nintendo to make smaller cartridges, because I believe right now a 64 gig cartridge is the only cartridge you can buy. You can buy a key card from Nintendo, or you can buy the 64 gig card. And I think a lot of Nintendo fans might be holding out for Nintendo to make smaller cartridges for some of these games. Because, I mean, you got to think of it, if you're a game manufacturer, you're like, I'm not going to buy that cart from Nintendo for 64 gigs when I'm using 20 gigs, 30 gigs, whatever, depending on the game. Especially if you're like an indie developer. I'm not going to do that. I've got a 10 gig game. I'll just buy the key card and the people can download it. So I think that's also a factor in there, and that's hurting the third party sales. So it's like games that have already been out, key cards, and there's just not. And honestly, and again, I might have missed a couple of third parties. I just went on GameStop's website. I just picked games that are not necessarily in stock, but I just got games and like listed them from like oldest to newest release date, and just kind of made my list. So I couldn't be missing a game here, but with games that have already been out, nothing new. And in all honesty, if these games, let's say this list of games, Cyberpunk, Street Fighter, Bravely Default, Yakuza, Sonic, and so on, let's say they are all new games. They haven't come out before. For me, the only must-haves would be like Cyberpunk, maybe Street Fighter, and probably Yakuza. Now, I know a lot of people probably be flocking to Hogwarts. I enjoy the Harry Potter movies. I'm not a huge fan. I don't need to play in that world. If there was like a Star Wars sandbox that wasn't made by Disney, I'd probably get down with that. So there's that sense that, again, none of these games, like, because of the wait for Cyberpunk, that's a killer app. But again, it's been out for a while. But if like it was getting released today and it was like day and date, Switch 2, Xbox, PlayStation, PC, that would be a killer third-party game to pick up. But like the rest of them, like Street Fighter, fighting games are a niche audience now. It's not like it was in the 90s where everyone was playing Street Fighter, everyone was playing Mortal Kombat. Those fighting games are more niche now. Bravely Default, RPG, JRPG, it's niche. The Yakuza series, I mean, it's a beat 'em up. That's not a niche genre, but the Yakuza games are a niche series. So it's like, I mean, Sonic, if that was day and date right now, that would probably sell well. Kunitsugami, that is heavily in Japanese lore, and it's a tower defense game. Niche. Split Fiction, we're going to come back to. Hogwarts, day and date, if this was released with this and every other system, that would probably be a big seller. And I'm actually shocked that it's not selling more on the Switch 2 right now. I think those will probably pop up more during the holidays. Puyo Puyo Tetris, no. Civ 7, niche. Hitman, niche series, fun. Love the Hitman game, so I'm not shitting on it. And I'm not really familiar with the Rune Factory, Guardians of Azuma. Just looking at the game, I assume JRPG, so niche. So you don't have like a Madden or a Call of Duty in this third-party release thing that's really, that's really going to sell when it comes to third-party games. All of these games with Hogwarts and probably Sonic excluded are pretty niche, either series or like genres of games. So they're not really going to have big sales anyways. And you got to think, like, if it's a Nintendo fan, the only systems they buy are Nintendo, and they're buying a Switch for Nintendo games, so they're not going to buy too many third-party games, especially like with Mario Kart and Zelda. They're going to play in those, or you're going to be like me playing Wind Waker. The only games I could see those diehard Nintendo fans buying would be Sonic, because 3D platforms are right up there with Mario and things like that. And then probably Hogwarts, because something I think like Nintendo fans and Harry Potter fans probably like cross paths a lot, intersect, or things like that. So I would imagine, that'd be a big seller. But none of these, really none of these games scream to me like, oh, system mover kind of thing like that. Mario Kart World, in spite of its $8 price tag, which I assume most people bought the bundle, that's a system mover. Being able to play Legend of Zelda Tears for the Kingdom Breath of the Wild at a higher frame rate, especially if you don't already own it, system mover. The rest of these third-party games really aren't system movers, so I expect like Madden to sell pretty well. Can't think of any other third-party games coming out off the top of my head right now, but there will be bigger third-party games that will probably sell well. Tony Hawk will probably do pretty well on the Switch, even though I will be playing it on my Xbox because I get it free with Game Pass. I probably will buy it for the Switch too, just to have it on the go so I can take it with me. Because goddamn, do I love some Tony Hawk, especially the soundtrack. Like literally, like I will just screw around in Tony Hawk to listen to the music. It's not even about playing the game. Sometimes, like I'll just have fun doing tricks, trying to rack up high scores, just listening to the soundtrack. So having that on the go, I won't buy it day one because I'll be playing it on the Xbox for free. But when it hits a sale, I probably will definitely be buying that for my Switch too. So, I mean, that's kind of how you have it. Those are kind of my theories. Oh, wait, I got to get back to Split Fiction. I said I was going to talk about Split Fiction. So, Split Fiction, I feel this one, because it's a pretty new game. I think it's only from the Switch launch. Maybe been out for 2 months, if that. Might have only been like a month or less. I think what hurts this game is that you got to play it multiplayer. So, like my buddy Devin bought it, and he's been playing a little bit with his wife. He was going to give me the virtual game card to play so him and I could play together. The only problem is we're both grown-ass married men with jobs and wife and kids. So our schedules linking up to play a video game on the internet doesn't link up that well. In fact, like I saw he was online last night. I tried to hit him up just to test out the camera and chat. But I think he just left the system on. I think he'd gone to bed because it was like after midnight when I saw it. So I was playing. I got lost in Wind Waker last night. I was playing that for hours. So I wanted to hit him up and chat, but he didn't respond back. I think he fell asleep because I texted him today. I was like, dude, trying to video chat. He was like, dude, I fell asleep with it on. I was like, fair enough. So, so I think Split Fiction gets hurt because it's a co-op only game. And so you got to have a friend to play with. And you got to have a friend with a Switch 2 to play with. And correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, unless it's cross-platform from the Switch 2 to like Xbox and PlayStation. Because I'm not sure if it's cross-platform at all, but I imagine PlayStation and Xbox is cross-platform. Don't know if it's cross-platform on the Switch, so that could be a problem there because like you got to play with somebody. So if you don't have someone at home, like my buddy Devin, you don't have anybody to play with there. And if you don't have a friend with a Switch 2, then you can't play it with your friends. So that game, I think its sales are kind of hindered by it being a new system and not everybody having that game. So that creates or not having the game, but having the system, since you can share the game with a friend over the internet. So, I mean, those are just kind of my thoughts on why third-party games aren't selling right now. I think Duskbloods from Software, I think that will sell pretty well. When that comes out, I think a lot of people, like especially the people buying Cyberpunk right now, I think those people will be excited about that. And I think, once we get more third-party games that are released day and date with Xbox and PlayStation, we'll see better sales on the Switch because I am going to do a video about Yoshida's comments about Sony not seeing Switch or not seeing Nintendo's competition. I do need to do a video about that. I will touch on that there because at $450 for some people that might be their only system they buy if they don't have an Xbox or a PlayStation. So that will get people to buy games and be competition for third parties when they go on sale, things like that. So those are my thoughts. I think these all being games that have been out for a little bit on your Xbox and PlayStation. Part of the reason why they're not selling on the Switch because I think a lot of early adopters who bought a Switch 2 probably already own a PlayStation or an Xbox or a PC. So if they really wanted to play those games, they probably already played them. But also, I also think for some people, key cards are a bit of a problem. I don't really think a key card should hinder you that much because you still get your physical cartridge. It's not like it's a code in the box like some of those cloud-based Switch 1 games that came out. So you still get a cart for the game. My thoughts on key cards. Honestly, I do kind of want some Switch 2 cases to fill that up because Mario Kart was a digital download. It was not a cartridge game, so it's like I do want something over there. So I might buy a couple key cards maybe. But if a game's a key card, unless I actually want the box for it, like if it's a game series or a game that I really like, I'll probably just buy the download, kind of thing like that. But buying a download and a key card is not gonna hinder me from buying a game. and it's one of those things like, of these launch titles, I've talked about that. I've already thought about getting Cyberpunk and Street Fighter, but I already own Street Fighter. I already own Cyberpunk, so that kind of hurts that. Sonic Shadow Generations I don't own yet, so I might get that for my Switch too. But I want to finish playing Wind Waker, play through Mario Kart World a little bit more. 'Cause for me, I don't want to do too many games on one system. Plus, I'm about to start streaming this bad boy. I might start that tonight as of filming this video. So I've got backlog games, so it's not necessarily I'm itching to buy any new games because I didn't get Sonic Shadow Generations when it came out, so it wasn't like a must-have title for me. I kind of talked about with like my friends, I'm gonna wait for a sale on that. So, and I still didn't buy it at $30 on the other system, so it's kind of like I'm not pushing to buy that. Kunitsugami, I've already played and beaten. It's a tower defense games. Those games I rarely ever go back to, so I don't really feel the need to go back to that. Split Fiction, we'll play with Devin if we can ever link up our times. Hogwarts, I said, not really into that. Puyo Puyo Tetris, I finally got a hold of a copy of Tetris DS, so I just played that on my 3DS if I want that Tetris fix. Civilization 7, I can play that on Game Pass if I want it, but I haven't been into Civ games since I want to say 2 or 3. Hitman, own that already for the Xbox. Rune Factory, know nothing about. Maybe it's a game I might like, so I might look into it. So, I mean, that's kind of me why I haven't bought any third-party games for the system. So, what's holding you from buying third-party games? Or did you buy a bunch of third-party games? Are you one of those people who got yelled at on Twitter because you bought the Switch 2 and all the games and people called you a shill? You're not a shill. You just like your Switch 2 and you like your games. You're good. You're good peoples. So let me know in the comments below if you have bought a third-party game, what did you buy? And if you didn't buy any third-party games, what's stopping you from buying them? Is it the key cards? Is it you already played the game? Or are you just not interested in any of those games? Because like I said, they're kind of all niche games. There's with the exception of like Sonic and Hogwarts, all those series are either niche series or niche genres that not everyone's going to buy and play. So let me know in the comments below why you bought third-party games or why you didn't get third-party games. And as always, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And for you 503 subscribers, thank you so much for getting us to that milestone of 500. Next up is 1,000. So let's see if we can get there by Christmas. And always, have a great rest of your day. Bye now.